Welcome back to Question Period. The final weeks before the House of Commons rises for the summer could be a crucial time for Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who has now lagged in the polls for more than a year, and substantially so since early fall. When asked a few days ago by the Globe and Mail's Laura Stone about his waning popularity, here's what he had to say.
I think the public might be looking at you and your position right now and thinking, for the good of the Liberal Party, why is he staying on?
Thank you for your concern, Laura. I know there are lots of folks in Ottawa thinking about process. I'm focused on results for Canadians.
Here to unpack that question of leadership is the Scrum. Robert Fife is the Ottawa Bureau Chief for the Globe and Mail. David Coletto is the CEO of Abacus Data. And Sherelle Evelyn is the Managing Editor of The Hill Times. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you. Sherelle, I'll start with you on this question. It's funny, Laura's question was one of the first time. I mean, everyone here has been talking about it for a long time, but it was directly put to the Prime Minister. What did you think of how he responded?
I think he responded more or less how we'd come to expect him to respond, in a way. Like, yes, he was a little bit snarky about it, but at the same time, he's been asked, or the rumors have been there. Remember when Senator Percy Down, made a lot of noise about him responding, and then he said, and he was just kind of like, who is he? Like, it's that same kind of, devil may care attitude, thinking, I don't have to worry about this right now. And then pivoting to here's what we do have to worry about, which are, these various concerns of voters and the country. It's not really, so like I said, it's not unexpected, but it is interesting to see him have to navigate it, on a very public level of, hey, everybody's looking to you right now to do something. We are looking to you to see if you are capable of, finishing this job that you started. And according to the polls, nobody really believes that. So how are you going to change our minds?
Well, let's get into that, because I think the impetus for the question at this juncture is certainly that the Liberals, David, put out all the stops for the budget, both before and after. And Marika Walsh with the Globe was reporting they were hoping to see a 5-point increase by the end of the summer. And I think setting the stakes is why people are saying, well, if they don't see any movement, does the Prime Minister not have to kind of look in the mirror at that moment? What are you seeing right now as you survey Canadians about the state of that?
Well, I think we're seeing what almost every pollster is seeing, which is the budget and anything that's come after or before has done nothing to change the landscape. Most Canadians want a change in government. Most don't like the Prime Minister, and the Conservatives have about a 20-point lead. Now, we just finished a survey that I was tweeting about in the last few days that suggests maybe young Canadians under 30 may be warming back up to the Liberals. But in the same poll, they're still trailing by 19. So even if they gain 5 points among young people and their whole focus on generational fairness actually makes them more appealing to young folks, that's not enough. Like, that doesn't get them out of the deep hole that they're in. And so I see zero evidence that Canadians, in fact, are warming up to the Liberals. I actually see evidence that the numbers keep getting a little bit worse. Fewer people open to voting Liberal. People kind of digging in on their sense that the Prime Minister is the problem, and they won't be able to look past it, perhaps until and if he's not the leader and the Prime Minister anymore.
Bob, you've covered a lot of these moments where, someone's been in office for a while and the question starts being asked about whether they'll remain as leader of the party. What's your sense of where that is right now?
Well, the Liberals are really, really in trouble when they bring out all of their attack that stuff that they usually do during an election campaign: abortion, gun control, health care. They're going to destroy health care. All of these issues they're now bringing out now. They're saying, if Poilievre gets elected, he's going to use the notwithstanding clause, and we're going to outlaw abortion. That health care is going to be in danger. And by the way, he's also a white supremacist. That is the kind of stuff that they've been trying for the last 3 weeks. None of it seems to be working at all, and that makes you wonder if they can't make it work now, what happens during an election campaign? I
think the sense that I get from Liberals, Sherelle, is that it's true, as Bob points out, that they're employing a lot of the wedges that they do normally in a campaign. But to be fair to them, Poilievre has provided some fertile ground in the past few weeks in the comments he's made around the notwithstanding clause, the not explicit denunciation, for example, of the endorsement of Alex Jones. I think to Bob's other point, though, what is critical in the Prime Minister assessing whether or not to leave is whether it can help them gain any ground, whether picking away at Poilievre in the ways they've successfully done with other leaders brings them any success at this point.
Yeah, and you have to think that they do see some value in that, or they wouldn't keep doing it, because it has worked against previous leaders. They were able to really wedge some of them, like, you know, Aaron O'Toole and Andrew Scheer and Conservative leaders in the past couple of elections. And they, you know, it's been taking them a while. When Pierre Poilievre was first elected as the Conservative leader, and then they gave him a pretty long runway, and they didn't do that thing of where they went out to define him. They let him define himself. He's defined himself at this point, I think, to a fairly significant degree. And now they're kind of playing catch up and trying to paint him as the boogeyman. And of course, the NDP are also doing the same thing, because they're also seeing their fight not necessarily against the Liberals, but they are explicitly fighting, and if you look at their fundraising emails, explicitly fighting against Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives. So everybody is trying to kind of turn and attack him, and it has worked in the past to some degree. I don't know if they've got the momentum on their side like they had in the past, where they were still, you know, in the Liberals' case, at least still being favored by the general electorate, that this managed to do enough damage that they could say, hey, this guy's going to do all these things. He's going to take away our pharmacare and your dental care and you know, and the capital gains, all these things that we say that we are about to implement and have implemented to some, you know, small degree.
So take your crystal ball, if you can, David, for a moment. Timing-wise, what if the Prime Minister ultimately did make the decision to step aside? How soon, in your view, would he have to do that, and why?
Well, this is going a little beyond my expertise in trying to understand how Canadians behave, let alone the Prime Minister. But let me sort of play it out. I feel that if he's still a leader after Canada Day, it really does feel that him planning to leave becomes really hard. Maybe he still decides he's not running, but it wasn't planned. Because I think you do need to give the party some time to replace him. You do need that, whoever that new leader becomes, a chance to form a government and demonstrate change and get people focused on the future, not the past. And so he's got a very short window, which is why I think it feels like they're hustling, right? He's just trying to demonstrate to his caucus and to others and to the media and the public that there's something left there, that the public is willing to warm up. And to Bob's point, I do not think that the country's listening, because all of the examples we might use in the past of trying to make Mr. Poilievre worse than him, whether you use 2019, 2021, Justin Trudeau has never been as unpopular as he is today. And there's only a handful of past prime ministers, Mr. Mulroney is one of them, who could do nothing to convince people that Jean Chrétien in the early 90s was far worse than he was. And I think that's where he finds himself. This is not 2019 and not 2021.
Last word to you, Bob.
Look, I think the country has Trudeau fatigue, and that's understandable. It's been 9 years, and no matter what he does, I don't think that he can recover. But it's not to say the Liberal Party can't. I don't think that Pierre Poilievre he certainly isn't loved by people in the polls. There's a lot of negativity towards him. If the Liberal Party can get a new leader, and we focus a lot of attention on this new leader, and say, you know, they pick a leader by December, and then they've got, you know, 6 or 8 months to be the Prime Minister. There's a bit of a honeymoon there that could change the whole landscape for the Liberals. I wouldn't count that out. But if Mr. Trudeau's going into the election campaign against Mr. Poilievre with the kind of numbers we're seeing and the fact that he's not able to move the numbers at any significant degree, I just don't see a way out for the Liberals, and we're going to have Mr. Poilievre as Prime Minister.
Okay, on that note, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks very much to the Scrum, Sherelle Evelyn, David Coletto, and Bob Fife.